right, man. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. What is psychedelic actualization all about?
So, Psychedelic Actualization, the YouTube channel started as a documentation of me realizing my life purpose. And my life purpose is to lead people to the realization of infinite love and infinite self understanding by the embodiment and demonstration of infinite love and infinite self understanding in my own life. And I do that through my ability to bring back and communicate insights about truth and love from my own psychedelic experiences to educate people about and guide people through their own psychedelic journeys. So it's basically the demonstration of God's love and the power of psychedelics for self-actualization. And I help people also to integrate those experiences and their insights as well.
Mm, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty fulfilling stuff as well.
yeah,
And
man.
now it kind of it changed from a part of documenting my life purpose into a part of my life purpose. So that's also kind of nice.
Mm. Yeah, man. Did the psychedelic experience show you that your life purpose is to show people the psychedelic experience and the beauty of it?
Yeah, and I think many people feel the same way. Like when they have their first psychedelic experiences, they come into it, they're like, "Wow, this is so beautiful. This is so meaningful. I want to share it with the world." And now, after a few years of actually trying to embody this and realize this vision, I realized like, oh wow, it's like that naivete is gone. It's actually pretty serious work,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a lot of work, and the journey goes very deep, and it's way harder than I realized, and it goes way deeper than I realized at the beginning.
Mm,
And I think like a lot of psychedelic practitioners out there or people who want to participate in this work do not realize how deep it goes and how much work is involved in actually getting to those deeper layers of those of yourself and of truth and of reality.
yeah, man.
Uh, and yeah, I'm working on it,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
definitely was a part of that.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of courage as well, especially since you
Mm.
do a lot of it alone. A lot of people they get turned off by the experience just for well, ignorance. We don't know any better. They don't really know what it's about, and because of that leads to just a great sense of fear. And the fact that you do it alone and you showcase it and you showcase that it's safe. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
show the world that it's not really quite what's the word I'm looking for?
What it's perceived at
Yeah, what it's
sometimes.
perceived as or has been
Mm-hmm.
from the drug war for the years of the drug
Mm-hmm.
war. You know, you show that it's kind of a an experience that is just yeah, it's a lot inside, but it's not like dangerous per se. If you
Mm-hmm.
do it in a correct and responsible manner, like you do show,
Mm-hmm.
it's safe.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, I would say it's safe. But
Yeah.
then also, um, it's like both perspectives. There's some people who have this perspective of, oh, it could be dangerous because of all this narrative of the drug war and those substances are bad or dangerous. But also nowadays, we see this psychedelic hype everywhere, and everybody is kind of getting onto the train of praising psychedelics and their benefits for healing, for therapy, for whatever. I've been visiting some psychedelic conferences in the last month, for example, uh, and I also see kind of a danger there because it's like only putting the focus on this. It's safe and positive, and you are only going to get a benefit out of this
Yeah.
is I think also kind of dangerous because the deeper I've been working with those substances as well is like it's if you're serious about this work and you go very deep, especially into the higher dosages, also alone, it can get pretty confusing and like it takes some skill to navigate those spaces and to actually let go of that fear, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, man. So how would you describe, if you can even try to describe, the beauty and the magnificence of a psychedelic experience to somebody that has no clue? They have no idea. They're still stuck in the paradigm of the drug war. how would you describe why it's so powerful?
Hmm, that's a good question.
I know it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. So, what the psychedelic experience does for me and for many people is it opens yourself up to new layers of perception of things that are there, but that you haven't recognized before. And it brings an intensity to your present personal experience and your perception of reality. And through this intensity, you could recognize some things, for example, the mystery and the beauty in this mystery, or the beauty in specific items or objects, or just like the world around you, or also internal stuff like your emotions. You actually, it opens you up to a space where you can actually feel and process your emotions, maybe emotions that you have suppressed before and that you didn't allow to work through your whole system before.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'd say that's one part of it.
Opens the mind.
Opens the mind.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really funny. I've been to this conference, and this one guy was talking about the term psychedelic,
Hmm.
and it means mind revealing or mind manifesting.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a wrong word. It's mind annihilating.
Hmm.
Because sometimes it is, well, depends on how we define mind. If we define mind as the greater mind with a capital M and the all encompassing one, it's mind revealing. But actually, it reduces certain aspects of our day-to-day mind perception,
Yeah.
of our ego mind, kind of.
Hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean in that way. So it actually like, yeah, it annihilates the part of the mind, almost like the rational part of the mind, like the thinking mind in a way, as in um yeah, I don't know if it annihilates it. It makes it, it just changes it. It's hard
Hmm.
to explain. It really is truly hard to explain. But I know what that guy was getting at. Maybe it just destroys like the old paradigms. It destroys the boundaries, as Terence McKenna would say. It just gets you
Hmm.
through your old habits and your old rituals and allows you to see the world anew. So it maybe it
Hmm.
destroys the old mind. Eventually, it leads to a sense of a new mind. I don't
And
know.
also, it's dependent on each individual, and it's dependent on each experience, and maybe even each substance. So there's a lot of mm, broad and experience. Like there's a lot of potential for experience. For example, when you take 100 mics of LSD, which is kind of a low to medium dose, it enhances even some parts of the mind and the ego mind, which you can work in those realms on different topics. But when you go into, for example, a full breakthrough session with 5-MeO DMT, it just annihilates everything into nothingness. So there's a wide range of experience, just as life is a wide range of experiences that we can have,
Yeah.
as is a psychedelic experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, they're kind of a miracle. It's quite beautiful that we do have these things so we can get out of the box that we've built or has been built for us and see outside the confines of um, just the world that we live in, the kind of darkness and chaos of the world. And it shows us a new way and a new light to see ourselves. It's definitely a miracle. I was thinking about that
Mm-hmm.
the other day. Like if we didn't a life without psychedelic substances, what would it be like? It would be something like 1984-esque because we wouldn't have the ability to just see outside like the little, and there's a lot of people that are actually caught in this paradigm right now. They can't see
Mm-hmm.
outside, the little box of their life. And it's quite harrowing to think about, but luckily we have these, and a lot of these things are organic too. Not
Mm-hmm.
all of them, but most of the molecules are organic in one way or the other. Some of them have to be synthesized in a certain way, but they're still for the most part natural. And I think that's what also is part of the miracle, is that these
Mm-hmm.
things, a lot of them, you don't have to do much. You just kind of have to eat it and somehow it shows you God. It's pretty powerful stuff, man.
Yeah, right. It shows you the music miracle. It kind of reveals the miracle of life
Yeah,
in
yeah,
such a powerful, intense, and direct way. That's what's so beautiful about them. Because I think you can get to those realizations and those insights and through this into this state of being in awe through other practices. But it takes a lot of practice on the path of yoga, on the path of, I don't know, you do meditation retreats, darkness retreats, you do some kind of more extreme practices, intense breath work, can get you to similar places, but the psychedelic is so like it's easy to access, right? It's
yeah. It's
you
so
can go
efficient.
outside, pick a mushroom, and there it is.
Yeah, it's yeah, man, it's so efficient, that's for sure. But I also think doing the yoga, meditation, and whatever else is important as well at the same time. I think a true
Mm,
yogi actually knows how to, it's like balancing between, I guess you could say, the holistic path of yoga, meditation, qigong, cold exposure, whatever it is, to integrate the psychedelic experiences. It's
mhm,
like they don't battle each other. Like there's not like
mhm,
a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I speak to that are just psychedelic people, and they shun the idea of chakras and yoga and Sanskrit and energetic work. Or there's a lot of people I speak to that are just into the yoga and the mindfulness path.
mm,
Me, I'm into both, and I think you're into both too, and you can see
mhm.
how they coalesce and they work with each other. I feel like finding somebody like that is very rare to me. Like
Yeah,
I don't know, I think that's a true shaman though, someone that knows how to use the medicine but also have the holistic energetic aspect to themselves. That's truly somebody who is an alchemist in their being, I believe.
right. I think so as well. It's definitely like I've met a lot of people who are just into psychedelics, and psychedelics are not going to do it. Just psychedelics alone,
Yeah,
they can maybe still give you an experience of God, but to have this framework and the understanding and the philosophy and the metaphysics behind it brings you to a deeper integration of that state and those realizations.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, definitely, for sure. It's a big part, and I think even like the main thing I got into psychedelics was, well, first of all, curiosity, but the main thing why I'm continuing to journey deeper is the desire to integrate this state of love and of God
yeah,
into my being more.
yeah. That's the biggest thing. I don't think.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, yeah, man. That, and like you said, it allows you to experience God. But I think there's more to God, if this even makes sense. There's more to God than just simply getting the light bulb moment in the experience, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like I don't know how to say it. I was gonna say you become God, but that just sounds way too grandiose. But it's like you become more God-like in your lifestyle. I guess you
Mhm.
become more of just I don't know how to explain it, man. Yeah, like so. Let me back up a little bit. Before I had any kind of psychedelic experience, God wasn't in my vocabulary. If somebody brought that to me, I'd be like, get just that doesn't make any sense, man. Get that out of here. I would always say, like, you can't show me the proof of God. Show me somehow, somebody, show me. And obviously nobody showed me proof because it's not that easy. You can't just like you can't just read a book or you can't just like see something or somebody say something. It's really not that easy. Um, but then I got into high dose magic mushroom trips, and that was kind of the proof for me. It was
Mm.
some kind of direct experience that allowed me to, I don't know, feel God, just like feel the love, man. I don't know how else to explain it. Just this overwhelming love in the moment. And coming out of that experience, it led me anew. Like I couldn't just like shoo that away. There wasn't anything where there wasn't any way where I could just be like, nope, that didn't happen. There
Mm.
was no way. So I got the experience, yes, and but there was something like you said I needed to integrate. Like there was something I needed to change about my life from that. Like just
Mm.
simply getting that glimpse wasn't quite enough. So
Mm-hmm.
becoming, I don't know, more godlike, like I said, is just like, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like, would you know how to explain that? Like, what
Mm.
integrating the experience is all about? Like, why would you, if you already know that God exists in a way, why chase it? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting because it's so simple but so complex in a way.
Yeah.
Because God, I would equal God with infinity as well, and like this infinite. It's the integration process for me is like to embrace God more and more. And when
Mm,
God is all that is, and all that is God, it's a process of embracing all that is on deeper and deeper levels, and also on a moment to moment basis. So right now and right now and right now, and
yeah.
it's like it just continues, and then you slip out of that awareness.
Yeah.
But to actually get present again and embrace all of God, and this is what psychedelics. I'm at this point where I'm kind of getting more afraid of them, which is kind of weird, but weird feeling for me. But because they show me more facets of God.
Mm.
And some of those facets are not just love and light.
Yeah.
Some of those facets are really dark, and nasty, and confusing, and it can get really weird and scary. And
Mm.
then to have the courage and the trust to surrender into that and embrace that also as part of the infinity, and kind of get into the perception or embody this infinite love of God for everything that is. That's like the
That's what it's all
process.
about.
Yeah, that's what's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we get distracted. It's like, even though you get the glimpse and you get the light bulb moment of God, our monkey minds just get the best of us and they get in the way, it seems, especially living in the Western world. So it seems like the integration process is just like a giant remembrance process, like a giant
Mm.
reminder for us to,
Mm-hmm.
yes, become present and truly present and in the moment. And it's way easier said than done. And obviously, we've all heard it before, be in the moment. But to truly be here right now in the moment is, yes, really all one needs to experience God, because it is here and now is God in a way. Like, if you could
Mm-hmm.
truly embody that right here, right now, no strings attached, not trying to be there, think about the past, have any kind of conditionality of changing something about the experience, then yes, you're truly embracing God. Like I said, easier said than done, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it gets dark and it gets messy and it gets scary. How do you embrace that? But yeah, truly, I guess the goal, if there is some kind of goal to this human experience, I see it as being able to be present with whatever comes up, no matter what. Easier said than done, like I said, but I think that is, in a way, a path, or the path. It is the path, I think, to be able to be here and now. And once you're here and now, you could say that you are more godlike in a way. You're
Mm-hmm.
not God, but you're with God, maybe you could say, or you're connected to God. And that sounds so lofty, but I feel like once you get that glimpse, once you get that experience, man, there's no other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like there's any other way to live my life, you know? Like, I can't, there's no higher pursuit, I guess one could say. Um, but it's not really quite a pursuit, you know? It's like I'm not trying to get anywhere or do anything. It's actually quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, almost like a renunciation. It's the opposite of pursuit. It's like, what do I need to give up in order to be here, in order to let go of the conditions of how I should live my life? What do I not need to do, in a way? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting.
Yeah. I would say even the desire for God is a good desire.
Yeah, right. I guess if we're
So,
gonna desire something.
yeah, right. And
Now,
there's no way back. It's like once you,
oh yeah,
yeah, I felt the same way. It's like once I got that realization. It's like, wow, this basically there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. How could there be, man? Like, come on. Oh man, it's so powerful. Now, did you have any inclination toward spirituality, any kind of religious beliefs before the psychedelic experience?
So I was raised Christian as a child
Mm-hmm.
and kind of went with it, but didn't really connect with it. And then when I was like 14 or 15, I got into philosophy, read a lot of philosophy, and then I got into nihilism and existentialism. Like everything is meaningless, but in this kind of negative, depressive way.
Yeah.
And then I realized all of those kind of philosophers are depressed, so I don't want to be depressed anymore.
Uh-huh.
And then I discovered Zen Buddhism at the same time as I discovered LSD.
Mm.
And I was like, I read about Zen Buddhism, and that kind of resonated a lot because it was so direct, so clear, so without any addition, without any form to it.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, the LSD experience kind of opened me up to these realizations. And that was kind of the start of this understanding. And then also, like, the first kind of teachers I listened to through YouTube, I got into this kind of stuff through Alan Watts, through Terence McKenna, which was kind of the psychedelic side. Alan Watts also a bit psychedelic, a bit Taoism and Zen Buddhism. And then Ram Dass, which was a little bit of Hinduism and also psychedelics.
Yeah.
So this kind of was the start of this journey. And now it just continues to broaden, to really be interested and curious about all kinds of different traditions and the deeper meanings behind the practices they do.
Mm. Was there one experience for you? Was it the first time that you ever tried a psychedelic, or did it have to, take a few times, or was it a specific molecule, a specific chemical that really did it for you?
I wouldn't say there was one, not really, but yeah, the first experiences opened me up quite a lot. For example, my first ayahuasca experience, where the main lesson was it kind of showed me true self-love. For the first time, I experienced what it means to truly love myself, and myself, not just myself, this body, but myself as all that is. For the first time, that was really remarkable.
Yeah.
My first 5-MeO DMT experience was also at the same retreat. I didn't understand it at the time, but it was a full emptying of all experience. So there was no experience at all, which is, now looking back on it, also really remarkable to not have an experience, but really be nothingness. Not even experience the nothingness, but actually like go beyond everything into this true nothingness. And from this true nothingness, I've heard a nice description of it. Nothingness is just not just nothing, but nothingness is infinite potential. And out of this infinite potential, we have everything, basically.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like God. That sounds like Purusha right there, man. I've never done 5-MeO, so I wouldn't be able to speak to it. And I don't think, from what I understand, it's hard to speak to anyway. But yeah, what you just described sounds like the classic yogic adage, the Brahmin experience. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And like integrating that, it's like, first I thought it's like, okay, there's no way the spiritual path can get me to this kind of experience, because it's so powerful. It's like when I do meditate, I am not even getting close to that.
Yeah.
But also like developing this appreciation for the practice of the spiritual path, of developing, first of all, this understanding, and then practicing it and practicing it and practicing it. And there was this one quote Dakota of Earth posted on his YouTube community tab. He was giving 5-MeO to sadhus, and they were kind of not impressed. And a quote from them was, sadhu means sapo always. So basically sadhu means 5-MeO DMT always.
Wow.
And like getting to this kind of level of presence and realization, that's powerful. That's it.
Hmm.
And the spiritual path is so interesting, right? Because we're both quite young. We're kind of, I feel like I'm at the beginning of this journey, even though I've kind of journeyed so far.
Hmm.
It's kind of a paradox. But I meet many people on the path who are like, this is it. Like, this life is it. And I feel like, yeah, this life is it. This is gonna get me to full on liberation, right?
Mm. Oh yeah,
But like,
you're saying
how
this life
likely
is.
is that?
Oh, so you're saying we have multiple lives.
I don't know. I truly don't know. But I mean, the concept and this kind of Hinduism philosophy kind of makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
I'm not like 100% sure. I haven't experienced it. But when I was reading, for example, Mr. Beige in LSD and the Mind of the Universe, one of my favorite books, he talks about over 40 high dose LSD sessions he has done,
Hmm.
like 700 micrograms, basically just journeying deeper and deeper and deeper into God.
Wow.
And the conclusion of this book really made me think and really struck in my heart. He was like, after having all these experiences, and he described it beautifully, going deeper and deeper into God, and wow, having these realizations, going deeper into infinity. He was like, he had to stop his sessions because he was like, he couldn't bear it any longer not to be with God
Hmm.
all the time. So he was like, better never enter again than to experience God and come back.
Oh wow.
And he came to his conclusion was it's not this life. He's not going to be, with all his practices, he's not going to be able to attain this state fully, like this full enlightenment. And it's interesting, this thought and this internal desire in a lot of spiritual seekers to actually accomplish it now. It's like, basically it is simple, basically it is now, basically you do have it right here right now. And many people, we access this state over and over and over again. But yeah, it's interesting to think about, like, how, what does it mean to fully be liberated? Is there even such a thing? I ask myself sometimes, because
Yeah.
for me, maybe it's not even about the liberation, but at this moment in my life, from my current understanding, it's about enjoyment. So it's not like this pleasure, but the deep appreciation and enjoyment of every step of the process of working towards the enlightenment. I think this is even like more higher on my priority list than the enlightenment itself, because what why work towards enlightenment if I don't
Yeah.
enjoy the process?
Exactly. Yeah, that's counterintuitive. It can be another trap in itself.
Mhm.
I could see like the whole idea of spirituality, and maybe there's multiple lives and we build up karma, and the stories that we build around that. That could just be another trap, and that actually could just build up karma for yourself. So yeah, it's this weird mind game that we have to play. And it's like, regard the stories of Hinduism or the guy taking 40 LSD trips and going in, regard those highly if you do feel those as truth in your being. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. This is
Mhm.
it. I treat this as, yes, this might be the only life, and we're going to be reincarnated. It's it's like I weigh
Exactly, it's
both.
both. Yeah, it's
uh,
embracing eternity in time. It's kind of like,
Embrace the
yeah,
mystery at the end of the
embracing the
day.
mystery, embracing the paradox. And
Yeah.
also an important point, I think, as well, what you said is reclaiming your authority to realizing truth for yourself.
Yeah.
Do not take any word of anybody. Like, yeah, be open to it, as you said, embrace it, learn from it, contemplate it for yourself, but actually, like, get to the realizations yourself.
Mm.
And don't be afraid to disagree with certain traditions or teachings or teachers, um, when you don't feel the resonance within your own being.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, and also don't be afraid to be wrong too. I think that's
Mhm.
something that I hold in high regard as well. I wake up every day and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea who I am. So anytime I try to think that I know what's going on or I have an idea of the universe and my being and my place in it, I get caught in that sometimes. But then at other times, I'm like, wow, Gary, you're so silly to even think like that.
Mhm.
We honestly have no idea what's going on, man. The only thing that I know as truth, seriously, it's gonna sound corny, but I'm gonna say it, is love. That's it. Like anything that
Uh-huh.
like any idea, any concept of the universe and reincarnation and karma and the gods and all these concepts we build up, those are great. Those are great. Like I said, I don't regard them too highly. I don't disregard them. They're great ideas, but when it comes down to it, man, the only thing I truly know for sure is love. That's it.
Mhm.
So like anytime I try to have these grandiose ideas of figuring it all out, um I don't know, man. It's futile at the end of the day. Just come back to love. Really
Mhm.
keep I try to keep it simple, man. I try to keep it simple in my being to just be like, all right, well, I don't know what the heck's going on, but I know that love is true, so just stay on that. That's just stay
That's
on that
good.
wavelength. Yeah.
That's good. Like, yeah, I think Terence McKenna said it's like nobody knows what's going on.
Truly, man, nobody has any idea what's going on.
And when
Well,
I do come
love.
to the point, yeah, love, it's love. When I do come to the point of where I think I know if what's going on, I take a psychedelic and then that is gone.
Yeah, right, man. I feel like they only show us more of the mystery. They only open up myself, my previous experiences. They've only opened me up to more questions. You know,
Mhm.
they give me some answers, maybe love might be they show us that love is the answer, but at the end of the day, they only open me up to the grand mystery that we're in even more so.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I don't, I feel like somebody could regard that as like, why would I want to do that? Well, I can understand that point of view, but
Mhm.
I think it's good to open oneself up to the mystery that we're in. So we can, I think we talked about this at the beginning, so we can get ourselves out of that little box that we built up. You know, the old paradigms, the paradigm of the ego, pretty much, and break yourself out of that and see the magnificence of the moment that we truly are in. I think that's
Mhm.
really what it's about, man. And then once you do break the box, per se, I don't think you really need to do it again, to be honest. It's great if you do. That's great if you do in a responsible manner, but I'm pretty sure you've heard this before. Once you get the message, hang up the phone. I think Alan
Mhm.
Watts said that. I think once you get the message of the grand mystery, you truly don't need psychedelics anymore, man. And I mean, I think it's cool that we have pioneers and courageous people like you to go through and show us these amazing experiences. But for me personally, I got the message of this grand mystery, and I don't feel as though maybe I'm like I said, we're still young, so I might change my mind, but I don't feel as though I need to do it again, man. Like I know that
Mhm.
we live in this grand calamity of eternity and infinity, and it just keeps going, and there's just like there's a lot of energy going on, man. I just and I know that, I recognize that, and it's like I don't feel as though I need to experience it again. I don't know. It's like once you know that it's a mystery, I just don't feel like I need to have the mystery again. I don't know. What would you say to that? Like, what would you do? You would you
Interesting.
like?
Interesting point.
So I've never tried 5-MeO DMT. Would you say? Would you recommend it before I die?
I would say if you feel like it,
Mm,
yes. If
mm-hmm,
you do not feel like that is an experience you want to invite into your life at the moment, then
mm.
that is perfectly fine. Because life itself is psychedelic. As you said,
Yeah.
it's there's a lot going on. And also to the point of does everybody has have to break out of the box? Not necessarily. And it's again about
Mm,
this balance and about where you're at in your journey. Because for some people, I guess a psychedelic experience would just disrupt their life even further,
yeah.
bring more confusion into their lives. I would say, first of all, build a nice box for yourself. where you're grounded and where you're kind of have a good understanding of kind of what's happening in your
Like a
life, and
foundation.
a foundation. You
Yeah.
take care of your survival maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
and of your mental health even,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you want to, and then go and break the box. um, and then I think Jamie Wheal, I don't know if you know his work, but
I don't think so.
he said in one talk, there's a certain percentage of people who should not try psychedelics, like not even once in their life. It's just not on their path. It's just not for them. Personally, like I couldn't possibly understand it from my point of view, but I do think that as well, that people, that there's just some people for whom it's not the case. And then there's a majority of people, maybe like yourself, who find value in having a few psychedelic experiences, like and keeping them as in their heart, integrating them even further and further and further, because you can integrate such an experience years after you've had such an experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like some of these big events like marriage or having a kid, and it's just like, and the psychedelic experiences, just have a few of those and work on those. And that's, he said, like that's the majority of people. And then there's a tiny percentage of people who are like myself, maybe. I just haven't found anything that I'm more passionate about than exploring different states of consciousness, which are sometimes not even related to spirituality. I mean, everything is related to spirituality in a sense, but
Yeah.
some of those experiences do not relate to my spiritual practice very much. But I'm so passionate about exploring them that I just continue to get on the phone and receive some more messages.
It always rings.
It always rings. It's always there. The communication doesn't stop.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. It's good that we do have uh, just variations of people. Yeah, it's true. You know, it's good. Our differences are beautiful. It's good that we have that, and it's great that we have people like you that are the explorers of this, and that go into these depths of the mind and come back and try to convey it to others and show others the way and the path to do it responsibly. So, yeah, man, I applaud you. I applaud your efforts.
It's a nuanced taste. I talked to somebody, I was talking to him, and he's like one of the most, he has tried over 100 or 200 different psychedelic substances, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
As like one of the pioneers in the field. And I asked him what is his favorite psychedelic, and he said Salvia divinorum, which is kind of this, it's basically one of the most potent psychedelics out there and one of the weirdest ones. Works on different receptors in the brain than the typical psychedelics. And usually often it brings about this really weird experience of people say that they become objects, or there's like there's really weird distortion of reality. Some people even get PTSD from this kind of experience. And he was like, yeah, salvia. And I was like, why salvia? I've tried it once and I haven't got myself to do it again.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know that some people, they just enjoy horror movies and they just seek out the worst horror movies that ever exist?
Wow.
It's like salvia is the worst horror movie you can imagine times a million. And I fucking love that.
That's wild. Yeah, I've read experiences on salvia and I've seen videos too, and it seems like, why would I want to do that, man? But yeah, then I've read other experiences of people, and they say it was the greatest experience they've ever had. So
Yeah,
I think
right.
it's just because of the differences in our brain chemistry, the differences in what we like, and yeah, some people just like the horror movies, I guess. I find it interesting that some people that try psychedelics, it doesn't affect them in ways that it affects, I guess, us. And that sounds like so egotistical to say. I recognize that it does. But some people, they get the message. Some people, the phone never rings, I guess you could say, or like they never even think to pick up the phone to get a message. It's more so just like a recreational experience, I guess you could say, where they're using it to get high, you know? When others, they get experience of God from it. You know, it's quite peculiar to me. Like Ram Dass, he credits a lot of his insight from magic mushrooms. I feel like the Ram Dass that we all know and love wouldn't have been Ram Dass if it wasn't for magic mushrooms, right? But not everybody that takes magic mushrooms becomes a Ram Dass. We would
Yeah,
have
right.
millions of Ram Dasses if magic mushrooms were that powerful. So it's just peculiar to me how it's like it affects certain individuals so greatly, and then others, yeah, they have this experience of colors and maybe some hallucinations, and they feel some type of way, but it doesn't click, it doesn't, like, the key doesn't fit into the keyhole quite as well as it would for somebody like Ram Dass or Alan Watts or insert
Mm-hmm.
name here. It's quite peculiar to me how some of these things are just like meant to be for others, and then for some it's just another drug experience. It's interesting.
I would say, for those kind of people, the potential to have this kind of experience and the realizations and insights maybe that we are having in our experiences is there. So maybe I think it's a matter of understanding and a matter of intention, maybe also,
Mm,
because I think the potential to go into this kind of experience is there. That's usually what a lot of bad trip reports are about. It's like they
yeah.
wanted to take it recreationally, but slipped into the abyss and freaked out
Mm-hmm.
because they were not prepared. They were not expecting to have this kind of experience. So the potential is there, and I would say if those kind of people maybe get out of the recreational setting and do it responsibly and take a lot more than they usually do, they
Mm-hmm.
are going to have an experience
Yeah.
for sure. And about the understanding, Terence McKenna said psychedelics don't work on stupid people. And what he meant basically was, I think he meant they don't realize the implications of this experience.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, they regard it as a hallucination. And I was like, oh, that's just bright colors and some weird entities. That's just a hallucination. And they have this attitude. But for us, it's just like, what even is a hallucination? It's part of my perception. It's
Right.
part of my current level of experience. What is reality even? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And having this switch of perspective all of a sudden changes the whole experience and your understanding of the experience and reality itself.
Yeah. I agree, man. I would say it's a lot more than just the chemical induction. It's how we approach it. Almost make it as like a ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set and setting. Mm-hmm. So important. Yeah. You gotta respect these things. They're very powerful. Yeah. So if you're just doing it at like just to do it, maybe at a party or something, you're not respecting the molecule. Some even say you're not respecting the spirit of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a thing, but it's
It's
true.
interesting because I yeah, I'm like contemplating this at the moment actually in my life,
Mm-hmm.
because many people they go the route of they try it recreationally and then they get into the practice of taking it serious and doing it alone with a setting of ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into it through just self-exploration, doing it by myself in a setting of ceremony, going deep into my own mind. And now, just like last year, has been the first time I've been using LSD recreationally at a festival. It was my first festival, Azora
Mm-hmm.
2022. And now, like after a couple of years of self-exploration, just doing it alone, I took the step to use it recreationally. And yeah, it's interesting because I had a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do not think that recreation, I mean, even the word recreation is something that is also maybe part and related to our life, first of all. And because it's part of our life, it's part of our spiritual practice. So just like dancing and having fun for a few days and maybe intensifying that experience with a psychedelic is also a responsible use of those substances, which can benefit your life in a good way.
Yeah, I could
But
see that as
then,
like ceremonial in itself.
yeah, it's like ceremony with the intention of fun.
That's what it's all about, man. I think we said this in the beginning. It's all about if you're not enjoying it, then
Mhm.
it's not worth it. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it's just like lay the set and setting that you know would lead to the most enjoyment. But it's enjoyment more than just like base level pleasure. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, what would allow one to experience bliss? And you knew the LSD experience before you went into it, so that's a lot different too. So
Yeah,
like you knew what you're getting yourself into to a certain extent. So you kind of knew if you were going to be able to handle it at a festival. So
exactly. Many people do not, and that's the wrong setting. Like from my perspective, it's a horrible setting to get into those kinds of experiences.
mhm.
Because even I was sometimes like, "Whoa, there's a lot going on."
Yeah.
It's very intense. If I would have not been comfortable in this state of consciousness before, I wouldn't have been feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's all about our intention, the set and setting. Um, it's all about how we approach these miracles, these molecules of I was gonna say these molecules of miracle, but really it's the miracles of molecules that we have. It's quite interesting. Your friend had over 200 different experiences.
Yeah,
Must
different compounds.
You must be a chemist then, huh?
No, he was just a psychonaut, I guess. But yeah, some of those chemists
You
like
must know a
Alexander.
chemist.
Yeah, he's deep into that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite peculiar, man. We have these like certain molecular structures that fit into our receptors in the right way that do act as certain keys, and they allow us to unlock different ways of thinking, just like a different way of receiving energy. It's just quite peculiar, man, how the human being has figured that out to a certain extent. Like, yeah, there are organic molecules, but then we have chemists that have
Hmm.
figured out the actual inner workings of these psychedelics and figured out it really just comes down to certain molecules that line up correctly with our receptors. And if you do find the correct combination, it leads to one being able to have neural pathways drawn that weren't able to be drawn previously. It's like it's almost like a computer being able to program itself or like super program itself in a way, you know? A chemist is almost like a human programmer in a way when it comes to like
Hmm.
psychedelics. It's quite interesting.
And also, what's funny is I've been working on a psychedelic course, and I'm like trying to study a lot as much as I can about everything. So when I was studying like psychedelics and neurochemistry, I was like, okay, I gotta know how it works.
Hmm.
What I found is like nobody knows how it actually works. We have some like, okay, it bounds to the serotonin 2-HTA receptor, and then
Yeah.
but it just starts a chain of activity in your brain, and like it's so complex that
Oh yeah.
nobody knows what's going on.
Mm.
Actually, what's uh, actually invoking this different state of consciousness and how it actually works. Uh,
Mm.
Many people like we don't know.
Mm. I think that makes it hold even more credence to the magnificence of it. You know, the truly that we don't know the mechanism for some reason. To me, that leads me to more reverence to the mystery of psychedelics. You know,
Mhm.
but I guess we know that it somehow comes down to molecules. Like I guess I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but it seems like certain chemists can find out what the key is, even though we don't know the mechanism of the lock per se. At least we know what
Mhm.
the keys can be, and that's interesting to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is, but also then yeah, it is kind of all related to our brain. Also, just like the non-psychedelic um, higher states of consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
The breath work, the yoga, the deep meditations, or like all this kind of stuff. Light therapy. I tried light therapy for the first time. And all these visions and lights and colors and what is going on? It's like
Yeah.
and for myself, just like I'm not really passionate about the understanding of the brain. It's interesting, but for me, it's more about the experience.
Yeah.
And not like the neurochemistry behind it, even though it's interesting.
Yeah, you think there's more to the whole thing than just brain architecture?
I don't know. Does the brain produce consciousness, or is consciousness something that is kind of received maybe by our mechanism?
That's a big one, man. That's a talk.
That's
That's a
a
whole
big
talk.
one.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right. Because I experience maybe even inanimate objects as conscious, right?
mm,
There's a certain consciousness in this glass of water, even
yeah,
though it doesn't have a brain.
yeah. Whew, that's a tough one, man. Yeah, then it's like if you do elect that it's the brain, whoa, what part of the brain? Where does it begin? Is it in the frontal lobe? Is it in the back here? Is it in the pineal gland? Where exactly does this consciousness sit? And you can't. There's no answer to that. It's like, yeah, it's like there is no part. It's the whole package, man. Like this is consciousness. It's like the body, and it extends outside of the body as well. Everything is part. Everything is the body. This glass of water is part of the body, and I think that's what one can truly experience from psychedelics or not psychedelics. In this practice and in this path, we can truly find that in one way we can have the glimpse into our being extending outside of the body, outside of the brain. And yeah, the brain may be a very important part of it, but it's not everything per se. It's almost like a gateway that energy passes through, if that makes sense. But the energy is still there. Like there's still the energy I see. So even when the brain isn't here anymore, there's always going to be me in a way that is in the form of this kind of energy. And that's how I see it, at least. It's like the brain is more so like a receiver. It's like it's a receptor of energy, or maybe like something that the energy passes through, like I said, a gateway, almost like a filter. And the path is us just refining that filter in a way, and being able to I guess recycle the energy in a more efficient manner. I don't know, but either way, what I'm trying to say, is our being. There is no local point of like this is who I am or this is where I am. One can experience on the path is that the I am is everywhere. It's everything. It's not even a thing, actually. It goes beyond a thing. The what we are is actually what we're not, if that makes sense. We're our true being is beyond concept, form, body, and brain. And that is like hallelujah. That means we're immortal in
It's the
some way.
most freeing thing ever, yes.
Yeah.
And it's both. It is this body and this brain and this physical existence. As Neem Kauri Baba, the guru from Ramdas, said, the best form to worship God in is every form.
Yeah, amen to that.
But it's also both. It's also beyond.
It's always both. It's a paradox, man. The truth is a paradox. What we are is a paradox. There's never a moment where you can be like, I got it. I got the answer. This is who I am. No, it's like there's no concrete answer of what we are. The truth is not concrete. The truth is fluid. The truth is, in a way, it's energy. If you really even want to, even energy, saying it's energy is a concrete concept, but it kind of is touching upon it more so, like the energy of love, I guess you could say, is more so of what we are. And I like that quote. That's how you worship God, man, is worship. Wait, what's the quote again? Can you say it
again? The best form to worship God in is every form.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's horribly difficult to see it in murder, in the dark, nasty, narcissistic sides of humanity, and all those from our humanity perceived catastrophes and crises, it's difficult to see and worship God in those forms. But that's
true.
also God.
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough. But as Neem Karoli Baba would also say to Ram Dass, this is a famous quote to Ram Dass. He says, "Ram Dass, don't you see it's all perfect?" And that's just another way of saying it. It's all
Mm-hmm.
perfect somehow, some way. And yeah, man, we can say this now in our comfortable homes, but it is tough to reconcile that murder, rape, pillage, insert horrible atrocity here is God, but it is somehow in one way or the other. And I don't really know how I would describe that to somebody, but
Mm-hmm.
it is God. It's just God playing with itself in a way. It's just yeah, man. It
And that
is.
is not to say, at least from my current state of perception, that is not to say that we could just work on embracing everything and accepting everything.
Mm.
But for myself, and I don't like it, kind of contradicts this paradox again, kind of keeping this perspective of everything is perfect and worshiping God in every form, but also this underlying movement towards goodness, a
Yeah.
human perceived goodness that I feel is true in my being,
Mm-hmm.
of murder is not right, of like these laws of we should still work towards a better future and
Yeah.
take care of our Mother Earth and be kind to each other. It's like this feeling of working towards goodness and
Godness.
and eliminating kind of this evil, even though evil is good and evil is part of God.
Yeah.
Still, like not neglecting your responsibility to actually leave this world a little bit brighter.
Yeah, man. I agree. I would say it's not that it justifies those actions, those horrible atrocities. It's like knowing that everything is God, it doesn't justify it. It doesn't make it good per se. It doesn't make it like a positive thing. It's just us being able to witness it, see it as it is. It's just somehow easier to bear in a way, to know that that's somehow, some way, in God's mystery, that's God playing itself out. Like if I see something happen across the world, some kind of atrocity, somehow in my mind I'm like, oh, so that's perfect, and it doesn't justify me in my life going out and committing atrocities, but it does like give it some kind of place, if that makes sense. Like it gives it like there's some kind of order that I can be like, okay, yeah, I guess, this, I don't know. It's not a justification, but I guess it's some kind of reconciliation of the chaos and the calamity that we have in our tumultuous world. Yeah. But ultimately, I do feel as though this wavelength of experiencing God is also embodying godlike qualities and becoming essentially love and embodying love. If anything, it's like knowing that that's possible shows me what not to do in order for me to know what to do. It's like we need to know the darkness of the world and what is possible in order to bring about the light, and that's how I see it as grace. That's how I see the perfection in that. It's that we need to have the contrast in a way to have our lessons, to reap our karma, one may say, in order to bring about a better world and a brighter world. So it's like, how would you, I guess in a way, it's like, how would you know what to do if you didn't have examples of what not to do? Does that make sense?
Makes sense, because we live in this duality, kind
Yeah,
of this space
kind
of duality, with this underlying non-duality and this underlying perfection. And also an interesting question I've been contemplating. I've been shooting a video about it yesterday. Does enlightenment make you a better person? Do psychedelics make you a better person? I do not think enlightenment or psychedelics make you a better person,
No.
or a more kind and loving person. it's kind of something different. Psychedelics helped me on my path to. They humbled me so much that I became more empathetic and compassionate and loving towards others, and have a more awareness of the environment. But that's not necessarily the case for everybody. As well
Mm-hmm.
as enlightenment is bringing people to a more loving and kind and compassionate place of being. But also, we hear these stories about gurus and shamans sexually abusing some people,
Yeah.
and doing, from my perspective, not really good and kind and loving stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Very true. I would say they can, and there's a definite correlation,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a definite causation. So there's definitely some things, if there was some kind of scientific data that we could get of enlightenment in people's morals from it, I would say there is some kind of correlation where, it, for the most part, it makes people better people, but not it's not a guarantee. It's not 100%. But I think there is some, if you somebody goes about it in the right way, in a responsible manner, like we talked about, and they integrate it in their life in the right way, I think it's almost inevitable that they become better in some facets of their life. But yes, it can become dangerous as well, and they can have some kind of messiah complex and
Mm-hmm.
abuse their power and abuse people that are under them, and it can get nasty and it can get ugly for sure. So I would just say to that, there's a definite correlation, but no causation from this so-called enlightenment.
I would say that also circles back around to the point that we talked about of um, this does it end the path of enlightenment? Because then many people think it's like, oh, I've had this awakening experience, now I'm enlightened and now I understand, and they still continue to do bad in the world,
Mm,
and they just continue to be in that state of thinking they are conscious and aligned and embodying this infinite love, but they're not.
yeah,
There's more. It goes deeper. You can continue
there's
your
always more.
path.
There's always more.
There's always more.
Yeah, that's the paradox. There's always more. So it's like, why would I always strive for something that I'm never going to attain, But it's not like that. I don't know. I guess it's the cliche, it's the journey is the destination.
It is.
Hmm. Yeah, man. This is good. Because it's like you can get the experience of knowing God, but that I could see as just the beginning. That could just be the first step in the journey of God, in the game of God, is knowing that you're in the game, or you are the game of God. You're player one. And that's when the fun starts, I feel.
Mhm.
And yeah, it doesn't end. If anything, like I said, it's just the beginning. Mm.
Yeah, and I feel like it gets more difficult as well for myself.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny
Hmm.
how it's like, oh, you leveled up. It's like, here, there's a bigger challenge.
Yep. We're on to the next level. We're on hard
That's
mode.
good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then you think you're done. It's like, ooh, that was a tough one. And then it's like, here's a even bigger one. How about that one?
That's why we came here, man. That's why I think we incarnated here. We didn't incarnate here to have an easy life, per se. We came to Earth to, I don't know, to go through it, man. To experience all that we can experience in this tumultuous world. I don't know. That's what it seems like. I had this epiphany yesterday or the day before. Like, life isn't meant to be easy, man. It's not meant to be easy. And that doesn't mean we don't take steps to simplify our life and make it a little bit of an easier road. But yeah, there's always going to be something else. Like, life is suffering, as they say in Buddhism. We all know the first tenet: life is suffering. We're not meant to, in this humanly form that we feel as though we're in, it's not meant to be all roses and butterflies and rainbows. We're both young right now, so it's definitely easy for us to talk about it, but I can foresee the future You know, as the Buddha saw, we're only going to get old, we're only going to get sick, and we're only going to die down the road. So it's not meant to be easy physically per se. But I think
Mhm.
that's where the path comes in. It's that we recognize the suffering, we almost go into the suffering.
Mhm.
And from that, a new mindset comes about, a new perspective, one may say, to see and approach the suffering in a different way, especially the suffering that isn't of our own accord. The path, I see it as, it's like being able to manage the humanly condition in all of its woes, all of its ups and downs
Mhm.
through a mindset shift, you know? Like we
Mhm.
know, we both can recognize that we're going to go through shit. I might go through something today, who knows? But it's like it's a little bit different now that I have a different perspective on what it means to be, you know?
Mhm.
It's hard to explain, but I think the path is really about just being able to weigh the suffering a little bit differently.
I agree. It's like it's a matter of perception. You
Yeah.
can choose to perceive. Like that's my main practice, right? That's my main spiritual practice. Is I choose to enjoy every experience, if it's the highs or the lows. The
Yeah.
highs are gonna come and the lows are gonna come. It's just this. The challenges are gonna come and the joys are gonna come, and to enjoy all of that is kind of my main practice. And it's funny,
Yeah.
because I just remembered right now, as you said that I had this inclination, this thought when I was younger, when I was kind of a teenager, of like, oh man, life is too easy, because I've been really blessed in my life. I've
Mm-hmm.
grown up smoothly, have kind parents, and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, everything has been so easy and so went so smoothly. Of course, there's been ups and downs and whatever, but when I was young, I was kind of, I don't know why, but I was wishing for challenging stuff to happen. It's
Mm.
like, oh, I wish I would have had some like traumatic event happen right now so I could go deal with it. So it's a little bit more difficult.
Uh-huh.
And now, I mean, now it's just coming at me. But so that's nice. And also, I think that's the value of the practice of like leaving your comfort zone. Go into the discomfort
Yeah.
deliberately. My main practice is the psychedelic experience. When I go into some of those high dose sessions, it's horrible. Some ayahuasca retreats, I'm shitting and vomiting for 14 days straight,
Wow.
kind of half pushed out of my body. It's horrible stuff. It's not comfortable at all. Or Cambo, this other frog venom that makes you just purge
I saw that
all the
video.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Like and then or high dose mushroom journey, where you work through a lot of emotional difficult stuff, and that's like leaving the comfort zone deliberately, going
Yeah.
into this discomfort, having the courage to experience that, and then you go through that experience, you come out alive, and you see it's like, oh wow, now if I don't know, if I face some other challenges in my life, that's peanuts. That's,
Yeah.
in comparison to what I have gone through. I know I'm capable of going through so much suffering and so much discomfort, that now this it kind of, that's the integration. Now I can embrace the challenges with a little bit of a more relaxation and ease,
Mm-hmm.
and have that bigger picture perspective.
Yeah,
And even
man.
just like, you don't have to do psychedelics, it's just this discomfort, being in nature for a day, fasting 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
taking ice bath, cold
Yeah.
shower,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, running a marathon. It's just get out of your comfort zone, push yourself, and then it's deliberate suffering. It's not going to be easy,
Yeah.
but that makes that's a paradox again, that makes everything else easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. The biggest lesson that I get from deliberate suffering is that it's all temporary. No matter how uncomfortable we may feel in the moment of our deliberate suffering, no matter how intense it may be, somehow, some way, like you said, we got through it and we're alive. We're here. We're good. We're safe in a way. That's There's something very special about that. It's Yeah, I mean, you may have certain hormones that get elicited in your brain to make you feel good, like epinephrine, or I don't even want to get in. I don't know the science, but there may be like some after effects from doing cold plungers or running that actually may make you feel good. Yes. But the grand lesson that I get from it, it's that no matter what, it's all going to come to pass. No matter how bad or dark or bleak my life may get of that isn't of my own accord, no matter what, I'm going to get through it. We're all going to get through it. Whatever, this is to anybody listening, and you, Virgo, whatever you're going through, whatever you're going to go through, we're all going to go through. We're all going to get through it, man. It's all temporary. All of
So
this.
then that's the point I'm at. It's like, what makes us think that we're not going to get through death?
That's the big one, man. Yeah.
That's the biggest one. It's the biggest one for me.
Yeah, man.
I always thought I was going to be fine with dying. So, and then I had a very deep ayahuasca experience in Peru. And it was like, you're going to be fine with dying? Well, with all of your kind of spiritual understanding and stuff, here's an experience of death. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not ready. I genuinely want to be here and continue to be here. But yeah, what makes us afraid of not getting through death? It's fear. It's just fear.
Yeah. It's
not trusting in the love. Yeah.
That's not trusting the love. I like that. Yeah. You ever read A Course in Miracles?
No, it's been on my book list for years.
Yeah. It kind of denotes that information. It's like we don't trust the love enough. Like in a perfect world, if we trusted the love enough, death wouldn't even strike any kind of chord of fear. But it's the fact that we have this slight guilt of us coming out of love that leads to that fear. Like we don't have, if I truly right now trusted and believed in the God that is love, then there would be no ounce of fear whatsoever, because love somehow transcends the bodily death. There's, I don't know, I can't say it in any other way, but the true love, the God of love, beyond the concept of love, of relationships, and the very shallow love that we have in our world, the God of love, man, that somehow in some way transcends our death. And the reason that we fear death is because I don't have full faith in that love. And I guess it's good to have enough humility to admit that, but really that's where all of our fears come from, is because we don't have our full faith in love. But A Course in Miracles could describe that way better than I just did, to be honest with you. But that's kind of the whole idea. That's the whole thing, is that like the more and more that we embody love and we come to know this love and we come to become this love, then our fears just, they vanish, including death. And that's powerful, man. Who doesn't want that? Come on, man. That's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah. But it's true. We don't, I can say it now, but if someone had a gun to my head, I'd be like, please don't. But I can say it now because I'm safe. If I was truly in love with life and in love with everybody and just in love, like think of the idea of in love. I am in love. Like I am in this like almost different dimension. If I was in the dimension of love at all times, nothing can harm me. It's like a sense of invulnerability, a sense of immortality. But I think that's what we're working toward, man. I think that's what the path is all about. Slowly and slowly, maybe over lifetimes, maybe over different incarnations, who knows? But it feels like there's something in my being that just is like pulling me toward this dimension of love. It's almost like it almost seems like a different locality. Like I'm getting pulled like out of my idea, my egotistical mindsets, into this other realm of just loving presence. And that sounds very grandiose, but it's really just me becoming more of a loving being. But there's something in me, like my intuitive mind, I guess you could say, is just saying like, yeah, that's it. Keep going on that. That's it. On that note of love, whatever that is, keep going toward that every day, every moment that goes by. That's it, man. So yeah, summing this whole thing up, and I think that's what it's all about. psychedelics or no psychedelics, I think we're
Mhm.
slowly becoming love. Maybe over lifetimes, who knows? Maybe in this lifetime, but we're slowly becoming love so that we can live forever. I think, man. And until we get that glimpse, and we morph into the realm of light and love, we do reincarnate into the body as like a sort of lesson. So it's like, all right, you didn't get it in that one, you gotta come back, try to embody it in this one. We'll give you this amount of karma. Come on, you getting the message of love? Nope. Okay, you want to come back? You still have desires of the ego. You're gonna come back into this body. We'll put you into this one until you embody love. It's like an escape plan. You know, like love allows us to escape the reincarnation cycle of samsara, some may say. And until we become that loving being, we're just gonna keep coming back. Yeah, like I said,
Not
that might be,
necessarily a human. We can also maybe reincarnate as a DMT entity or
yeah.
on other planes and
That's what they
dimensions.
say. Yeah,
It's
we could.
all infinite.
Yeah, man. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? All I know, like I think I said this in the beginning, all I know is that love is the truth. Whether you want to say we reincarnate or don't, and we might be reincarnated as different beings, or the stories go on. The stories go on forever, man. But all I really know is to really simplify it and just be love and be selfless as much as we can here. It's not easy, but it's simple. It is quite simple, I feel. Just hold that in our hearts, in our souls, and it'll lead the way. You know, there's a certain sense of intuitive guidance that I feel like comes from it. You know what I mean? It's almost like you let your hands off the steering wheel a little bit and you kind of go on Tesla autopilot in a way. It's like you're still in the driver's seat, but there's a sort of sense of there's a sort of guidance that is like your guru, your guide in a way. Some may say we have like what are those called, like spirit guides, right? We might have like other guardian angels in a way. It seems like that's a thing. Once one gets on the path, for me personally speaking, there is this otherworldly guidance that one can tap into that aligns us in the humanly form, that ultimately aligns us to this vibration of love. So you just kind of have to let go of the humanly wants and needs a little bit, and it'll lead the way. It's a sort of surrender, you know?
I agree. Beautifully said.
Yeah, sorry, I think I went off on a little rant there, but hopefully it made sense.
Well, that was good.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Love is the truth. I think we said it enough in this one. Do you have anything you want to say? I think you can probably start to wrap this thing up. We covered a lot of
Yeah.
bases.
Maybe to add on to this one, it's also for myself, it was an intuition. When I first heard the word from Nim Kori Baba, unconditional love, it was just like, that's it. and since that day, I've been, that's the thing I've been working towards, realizing and embodying.
It's quite obvious.
Yeah, right.
Like at a certain point, it's like, oh, of course. And we're running away. That's the thing. It's like we're running away from love, from our egotistical desires. We're running away from it. We're doing this to ourselves. That's the ironic thing. Like all of this destruction, and this is crazy. I know this sounds crazy, but all of the craziness of the world, all of the destruction, the darkness, really we're just doing it to ourselves, man. Maybe over generation and incarnation, but really all of the darkness and craziness of the world, I see it as just us running away from love. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Like I said, we're both in very comfortable positions right now, so it may be easy for me to say. You know, I might be a little bit privileged, or some people may see me as privileged as saying that, but I feel as though some kind of sense in me is saying that we as a collective have done this to ourselves because we just can't recognize how loved we are. I don't know, man. But that's why we got psychedelics. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to say. Want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Cool.
I'd say to everybody, just enjoy the process. That's my main message.
Yeah.
Just keep enjoying it.
That's what it's all about.
Keeping that awareness, practicing the enjoyment. appreciation of the beauty, really, really trying to see the beauty
Yeah.
in everything.
Yeah. Yep. Gratitude for it all.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that, brother. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on here. Thank you for your time, effort, and wisdom. And I thank anybody that listened this long. Yeah, much love, man.
Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Of course. Peace and love. Peace and love, everybody.